Good morning, everyone. So this is lecture number 8 of engineering mechanics. During the last lecture, we were discussing about the resultant of forces. So we have seen the definition of resultant. So resultant means it is the net force acting on the system or acting on any object. So this is a simple example for the resultant, where two forces of 50 Newton each acting on the body, one from the positive x direction and other from the negative x direction. Okay. So in this case, the resultant force acting on the system, it is 0. Okay. So summation fx, if you take, this value will be 50 and minus 50. Okay. So that means your r value, it is 0. There is no force acting in the y direction. So simply your summation fy, this value, it will become 0. And therefore, in the formula of r, we will get summation fx square plus summation fy square. This value will become 0. In the second example, your summation fx value, this will be 50 minus 80, that is equal to minus 30 Newton. So this minus 30 Newton, it means 30 Newton force acting in the negative x direction. As there is no force in the y direction, so we can write down summation fy, it is equal to 0. And from this, we will get the r is equal to square root summation fx square plus summation fy square, it is equal to square root 30 square plus 0, that means it is 30 Newton. So here the resultant force, it is nothing but the summation fx only, as there is no component in the y direction, so summation fy is 0. So resultant means simply it is a net force acting on the system. So then we started with the resultant of the coplanar force system, and in the coplanar force system, we started with the resultant of the concurrent force system. So now we are discussing about the resultant of the concurrent force system. So in the last lecture, we completed one problem on the resultant. So this is the first problem, and one problem was given as a homework. So anyone solve this problem? If you have solved this problem, then you can check the answer. The summation fx for this problem is 979. Then summation fy, it is equal to 102. You can check your answer. And resultant is 978.0625, and the angle of resultant is 6.02. So resultant, if you want to show this on this diagram, so this is x and y axis, and this is the resultant force. So resultant means what? We want to replace force F1, F2 and F3 by a single force, that is nothing but the resultant R. Okay. And this angle of the resultant theta with respect to x-axis, it is equal to 6.02 degree. Okay. So I hope this concept is clear. What is meaning of resultant and how to find out the resultant, we have already discussed in the first example. So steps for the resultant calculation. First step is we have to find out the summation fx. First step is resolve the forces. So resolution is the first step. Then second step is find out summation fx and summation fy. And third step, use the formula of resultant r is equal to square root summation fx square plus summation fy square. And the second formula, that is for theta, it is called as angle of resultant. It is tan inverse summation fy divided by summation fx. Okay. And the last step, we can say fourth step, It is nothing but the representation of resultant. So representation means what? We will replace all the forces and we will represent the force by the single force. That is called as a resultant. Okay. So anyone, have you got this answer? So if you have got the same answer, then you can give the comment in the chat box. Otherwise, you can note it down and then you try afterwards. Okay, today we will solve this second problem. So note down this problem. The problem statement given, the resultant of the four forces F1, F2, F3 and F4 is R is equal to 800 Newton as shown in the figure. Find the unknown fourth force F4. So actually F4, it is not shown in the figure, but the statement given is there are four forces F1 to F4, and the resultant of these four forces is nothing but the R is equal to 800 Newton, and it is acting here. Observe this diagram. It is acting at 50° with respect to the positive x-axis. Okay. So question is, find out the unknown force F4. So you draw this diagram. So in the diagram, first force is F1. So this is the direction for the F1, that is equal to 500 Newton. Second force F2, it is equal to 300 Newton. So this is the direction. Angle is 30°. Then F3 is 400 Newton. This is the direction for F3 and angle is 45°. So only three forces are shown in the figure, and all the forces are passing through this intersection point. This is called as point of concurrency. So right now we are discussing only concurrent force system. Okay, so shall we start with the answer? So F4 force we have to find out. So resultant given is R is equal to 800 Newton. So we'll write down resultant R, that is equal to 800 Newton. So from this resultant, we know that x component of resultant, that is nothing but the Rx, it is nothing but the summation fx. And y component of resultant, that is Ry, it is nothing but the summation fy. So during the last class, we have discussed this. What is meaning of Rx? It is nothing but the summation fx, and Ry is nothing but the summation fy. So resultant quadrant is given. So resultant is 800 Newton acting by 50° and it is in the fourth quadrant. So if I draw this separate figure only for the resultant, so this is the fourth quadrant, this is x-axis, this is negative y-axis, and this is the resultant direction. This angle given, it is equal to 50°. Okay. So this is R, that is equal to 800 Newton. So if I resolve this resultant along x direction and along y direction, then the x component of resultant, this will be Rx, and this component will be Ry. So Rx is nothing but the summation of fx, and this Ry is nothing but summation of fy. Now observe the original system. Now just forget about this resultant. Only focus on f1, f2, and the f3. Okay. So I will redraw this figure. Okay, so in this figure, the first is the 500 Newton. So this is F1, that is equal to 500 Newton. Second is the 300 Newton, that is F2. And F3 is equal to 400 Newton. So angle of the first force is 30°. So this is with respect to y-axis, that is F1. For F2, angle is 30 with respect to x-axis. And for F3, angle is 45°. Okay, but we don't know the location of the force F4 as it is not shown in the figure. But in this statement, it is given there are 4 forces, and out of that 4 forces, F4 is the unknown force. So that the resultant of all these 4 forces, it is equal to R. So we will assume the location of the unknown force in the first quadrant. So let us take the F4, which is unknown force. It lies in the first quadrant. So this is the F4, and assume the angle with respect to x-axis as a theta 4. So here angle theta 4 is unknown, and even the magnitude of the force F4 is unknown. Okay, so we have to find out the force F4 and its angle, that is theta 4. So now our first step, we have to resolve the forces. So for the resolution, only observe this diagram. Okay, so this diagram, it is for the resultant, and this diagram, it is for the force system. So I hope this difference is clear. So in the problem, the diagram shown, it is the combination of both force system and the resultant. So we have separated the force system and the resultant. So now just observe the force system and try to resolve the forces. Okay. So now we will try to resolve the force. So I will resolve this F1. So as F1, it is acting in this direction where it is directed towards the origin. So I can resolve the force anywhere on this line of action. So for the resolution, just draw one parallel line to the x-axis, draw second parallel line to the y-axis. Okay. Now just observe the arrow direction. So this will be your x component, and this will become your y component. Now we have to find out the angle. So this angle is 30°. So this angle will be 30°. These are the alternate angles. So this component will be Fy component, and this component will be Fx component. So Fy, it is equal to 500 cos 30 and Fx component will be 500 sin 30, because it is opposite component and this is the adjacent component. Okay. So right now do not consider the sign. In the calculation, we will consider the sign depending on the direction of this arrow. So right now actually Fy is negative, acting in the downward direction. But when we take the value of Fy in the calculation, then consider the negative sign. Now consider the F2 force, that is equal to 300 Newton. So procedure is same. You can select any point on this line. So from this point, just draw the parallel line to the y-axis, draw parallel line to the x-axis, observe the arrow direction. Now this angle is 30°. So therefore this angle will be 30°. And this component will be 300 cos 30. So this will be Fx. This is 300 cos 30. And this Fy component will be 300 sin 30. Now resolve the F3 force, 400 Newton. So select any one point, draw the parallel line to the y-axis, parallel line to the x-axis, observe the arrow direction. Now this angle is 45°. So alternate angle will be 45°. So this component, it is the adjacent component. So this will be 400 cos 45. And this y component, it will be 400 sine 45. And the unknown force F4, we have assumed it lies in the first quadrant. So right now we are not sure whether it is in first, second, third, or fourth quadrant. So this is just our assumption. So we have considered the angle with respect to x-axis as a theta 4. So resolve this force also. So draw parallel line to the y-axis and draw parallel line to the x-axis. So this angle is theta 4, therefore this angle will be same, it is a theta 4. So our x component will be F4, that is the force magnitude, cos of theta 4, and your y component, this will be F4 sine of theta 4. So right now our resolution of the forces is complete. Now we have to just write down the summation fx and summation fy. So for summation fx, summation fx means we have to add all x component and we have to consider the sign. So start from the f1. So what is x component of f1? So this is 500 sine 30. And observe the direction, it is towards the negative x direction. So we will take this minus 500 sine 30. Then f2, this will be 300 cos 30 and it is towards the negative x direction. So it is minus 300 cos 30. Now this 400 cos 45, this is the x component of f3. It is towards the positive x direction. So it is plus 400 cos 45. Okay. So these three components are of the forces F1, F2, F3. Now consider the x component of unknown force plus F4 cos theta 4. So find out this value. So if you have the calci, then you can find out the answer. Similarly, write down the summation F1. So start from the F1. So this is the x component, which is equal to 500 cos 30 acting in the negative y direction. So it is minus 500 cos 30. Then second, 300 sine 30. It is plus. Next is 400 sine 45. Again it is plus. And the unknown force component Fy, sorry, it is F4 sine theta 4. So plus F4 sine theta 4. So for the calculation, just add these values and keep the unknown value as it is in the summation fx. So just check the answer. So this answer is minus 226.96 5 plus this remaining value as it is F4 cos theta 4. Okay. And similarly find out the Fy. So Fy value, it is minus 0.1699 plus this value is F4 sine theta 4. Okay, so have you got the same answer?
No, sir.
So now observe the resultant. So in the problem, resultant value is given. So this is the resultant and its value is 800 Newton. So this is a separate diagram. So the summation fx is nothing but the x component of resultant and summation fy is nothing but the y component of resultant. Okay. So from this resultant value and angle, we will find out the rx and ry. So R is given, that is equal to 800 Newton. This angle, it is 50 degree. So this component, it will be Rx, this will be Ry. So Rx is equal to 800 cos 50 and Ry, it is equal to 800 sin 50. But Ry component, it is along the negative y direction, so we will take this minus. So find out this value. So 800 cos 50, this is 514.23 Newton, and it is towards the positive x direction. This Ry value is minus 800 sin 50. So this value is minus 612.83 Newton. So actually meaning is 612.83 Newton acting in the negative y direction. So we have got Rx, that is nothing but summation fx, and which is equal to 514.23, and Ry is nothing but the summation fy, which is 612.83 Newton. So basically it is minus. So now compare this answer. So this is summation fx. So equate this answer with 514. So I will write this is minus 226.965 plus f4 cos theta 4. It is equal to 514.23. So this will be your equation 1. And second equation is minus 0.1699 plus f4 sin theta 4. It is equal to, this is your summation fy. So it is minus 612.83. So from this equation, you will get the value of f4 cos theta 4. Just shift this term on the right hand side. So this will be f4 cos theta 4, that is equal to, just add this 226 on the right hand side. So this is equal to 741.195. This is Newton. And F4 sine theta 4. So this is minus, and shift this term on the right hand side, so it will become positive. So this is equal to minus 612.66 Newton. So actually, we assume F4, it lies in the first quadrant. But from this F4 cos theta 4 and F4 sin theta 4, can you tell me what is the quadrant of the F4? Whether it is first, second, third, or fourth quadrant. Yes, anyone?
For
Yes, it is fourth quadrant. So how we can decide whether it is a fourth or first quadrant? So F4 cos theta 4, it is nothing but the x component of the force F4. So it lies along for positive x direction. So 741, this is positive value. But this y component F4 sine theta 4, it is negative. So it is directed towards the negative x direction. Sorry, negative y direction. So actually, if I draw this figure, so this is F4 cos theta 4, and this component is F4 sine theta 4. And this is negative, that is minus 612, and therefore this is the actual force F4. So basically F4 is nothing but the resultant of these two components. So our assumption is it is in the first quadrant. So if the value of Fy is positive by the calculation, then we can say F4 lies in the first quadrant only. But as the value of y component of the force F4, so this can be written as F4y, and this we can write as a F4x. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear. Exact position of the force F4. So now we have to find out this angle, that is a theta 4, and the value of F4. So how you can find out this value? You have two equations. So this is first equation and this is second equation. So in the two equations, there are two unknowns, F4 and theta 4. So how to find out the value of F4 and theta 4? Yes, anyone?
sir, tan theta is tan means
Okay, so you can refer the second problem. It is of similar kind. Okay, so this is the given problem. The problem statement is find the fourth force F4 completely so as to the given resultant of the system is as shown in the figure. So resultant is 150 Newton. It is acting at 45 degree with respect to x-axis. And actually, the system consists four forces. So out of that four forces, only three forces are shown. This is not the force; it is the resultant of the complete system. So first force is 100 Newton. So we can take this value as F1. The F2 it is equal to 120 Newton, and the F3 it is equal to 250 Newton. So we have to find out the force, that is the F4. So it is similar to the last problem. So the procedure will be you can separate out this resultant and the remaining forces, and you can assume the unknown force anywhere, maybe in the first quadrant, second quadrant, third, or the fourth quadrant. Okay. So let us separate out this system. So I will just draw the figure for resultant and figure for the remaining forces. So this is the system of forces. It has 100 Newton, 120 Newton, 250 Newton, and there is one more force, which is the unknown force. So I will assume that force, it lies in the first quadrant. So I will assume this is unknown force F4, and its angle with respect to positive x-axis as a theta 4. So this is just our assumption. We are not sure whether it is in first quadrant. And then this complete system, it is equivalent to the resultant system. So this is your resultant. So this is R is equal to 150, and the angle of resultant with respect to positive x direction, it is 45 degree. So if you replace this system by a single force, it will look like this: R 150 and 45 degree. So I think this concept is clear. What is meaning of resultant system and what is meaning of system of forces. So now we have to find out the force F4 and its angle theta 4. So the procedure is same. First step is we have to resolve the forces. So I will start from the 100 Newton. So you can select any one point on this line. Draw the parallel line to the x and y axis and show the arrow in the same direction of this arrow. So this component will be x component. Now here angle 30 degree, it is given with respect to y axis. So this angle will be same because this component and this y axis both are parallel. This is a common line. So this angle will be this angle. So this is equal to 30 degree. So here y component will be 100 cos 30, that is the adjacent component, and x component will be 100 sin 30 because it is opposite component to the given angle 30 degree. Similarly, resolve 120. So select any one point, observe the direction, draw the parallel vector. So this is x axis, sorry, x component, and this will be y component. Now here 60 degree is with respect to x axis. So this angle will be 60 degree. So x component will be 120 cos 60 and y component will be 120 sin 60. Then resolve this 250. Select any one point, observe the direction, draw this y component, draw the x component. Again here angle 25 degree, it is with respect to y axis. So this angle will be 25 degree. So x component will be 250 sin 25 and your y component it will be 250 cos 25 because it is adjacent component. Adjacent means what? Adjacent to angle 25 degree. And then resolve this unknown force, that is F4. So select this point. This angle is theta 4. So this angle will be same, theta 4. So this will be F4 cos theta 4 and F4 sin theta 4. So this resolution is clear to you, or is there any doubt in the resolution? Yes, you can give the comment. So after this resolution, our next step is we have to write down the summation fx and summation fy. So from this diagram, that is the resolution, the summation fx, it is equal to, start from the 100 Newton. So observe the x component only. So this is 100 sin 30 acting towards negative x axis. So I will take this minus 100 sin 30. Second component is 120 cos 60. Again, it is negative. Next component is 250. So this component sin 25. So it is positive. And the unknown force component F4 cos theta 4. Similarly, find out the summation Fy, that is equal to This is 100 cos 30. Then this is 120 sin 60, negative direction. So minus 120 sin 60. 250 cos 25. Again, it is downward direction. So it is minus 250 cos 25. And the unknown component, f4 sin theta 4, positive direction. So plus f4 sin theta 4. So calculate the value of these three components and plus f4 cos theta 4 as it is. Okay, so just check the answer. Summation fx is minus 4.3454 plus f4 cos theta 4, and your summation fy value is minus 243.8975 plus f4 sin theta 4. Now we have to equate these values, summation fx and summation fy, with the resultant values. So from the resultant, just resolve this resultant. So this is the x component of resultant, that is the Rx, which is equal to 150 cos 45. This is the y component of resultant, that is Ry, which is equal to 150 sin 45. And we know that Rx is equal to summation fx and Ry, it is nothing but the summation fy. So Ry here it is negative. So we will equate this directly with the summation fx. So I will write down this is equal to Rx, and that is equal to 150 cos 45, and summation fy, it is nothing but the Ry, and that is equal to, actually this is negative, so minus 150 sin 45, and then find out this value, f4 cos theta 4 and f4 sin theta 4. So I will write down here f4 cos theta 4, it is equal to, just shift this term on the right hand side, so this value is 1104114. So you can take this equation 1, and from second equation, that is the summation fy is equal to minus 150 sin 45, we will get f4 sin theta 4 So this value is equal to 137.83. So this is your second equation. So as f4 cos theta 4 and f4 sin theta 4, both the values are positive. That means f4, that is unknown force, it must be in the first quadrant. So our assumed direction is correct. So we have assumed f4 lies in the first quadrant, and then from the answer it is clear that both the values are positive. So f4 must be in the first quadrant. So is it clear to you up to this step? Now we will calculate the value of f4, that is the magnitude, and its angle. So to find out the f4, we have to just square this both the values. So I can directly write down the formula for f4, which is equal to, just take this value, that is x component, square plus, it is just a Pythagoras, it is 137.83 square. So from this find out the magnitude f4. So this is equal to 176.60 Newton. So this value is 176.6 Newton. Now we have to find out what is the angle theta 4. So for theta 4, we can use tan inverse. Take this y component divided by the x component. So it is 137.83 divided by 110.